Part 49. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 486. Chapter 486 Wind Four-Legged Vulture. Gajan City and Yellow Path City are about 134,000 miles away from Great Treasure. The drought and rain in this area are basically all yellow sands with rare vegetation. Among the yellow sands, there are also many monster beasts with rank 4, rank 5 or more, but this monster beast is naturally no threat to Weisuo and Li Ruohe. So Weisuo didn't have any scruples, pushing Chi fire boat's speed closer to the most great treasure. Along the way, I also saw a lot of cultivators escape light. These cultivator great treasures are mostly cultivators of Thought Division Realm and Heavenly Circuit Realm. Their pedestrians naturally ignore it and fly directly from above these cultivators. Over. At an idle speed like Chi fire boat, you should be able to get to Yellow Path City in about half a day. But after about 1 billion hours of great treasure, Weisuo, who controlled Chi fire boat, was suddenly an eye flash, which controlled Chi fire boat to stop. Fellow Daoist Wei, what's wrong? Seeing Weisuo's move, Li Ruohe's natural reaction was to put divine consciousness in the most great treasure, but didn't feel anything wrong. There seems to be a great treasure piece in front of it. I don't know if it is a cultivator or a monster beast. Weisuo looked at the front motionlessly, his face a little dignified. Is there a great treasure piece? Li Ruohe and Qi Longshan and Shapeshift Great Art Reverend are a glimpse. Because Chi fire boat's escape rate is the general Fei Dun Shapeshift Great Art Great Treasure several times the relationship, now they have almost, and they also from the Gajan City from the cultivator far away, estimated ordinary Thought Division Realm cultivator, at least a little half an hour to get to the secret place, and toward the front of the sky look, a few people also do not see anything. But after a while, in the sky of the secret place, there seems to be a cloud that has drifted toward the direction of Weisuo and others. This cloud has a height of hundreds of feet, and it stretches for a dozen miles. It is not like natural formation. This person's eyesight can be seen so long before us. It should be enhanced by the sharp herb great treasure. Seeing this kind of lust shape, Li Ruohe and others have a dignified look on their faces, and at the same time, the mind suddenly emerged at the same time. Look. Suddenly, Qingping pointed a little forward and whispered a surging sound. I saw the inside of the dark cloud. There was a glimmer of brilliance, but it was too far apart to see what color it was. It's the cultivator's escape light. There should be a cultivator and a monster beast. Weisuo was a wrinkle and said directly. Do you say that a cloud of such a giant treasure is formed by the monster beast? How many monster beasts there are? Shapeshift Great Art Hua Reverend looks a little dazed. Since I have reached this secret place, it is naturally impossible to turn around and run. I will see it clearly in the past. Qi Longshan flashed a very ruthless look in his eyes. How do you see, fellow Daoist? Go and see. We are so many people together, even if we are not good, there should be no problem in getting out, Li Ruohe said faintly. There was no nonsense, and Weisuo reached out and Chi fire boat spurred forward again. The dark cloud was already flying towards Weisuo. The two phases were together, but the time of the half stick of incense was not available. The dark cloud of the giant treasure was already in Weisuo etal in front of it. The wind whistling, overwhelming, an amazing baleful aura, straight into the sky. Far away from the secret place, the cloud of the giant great treasure is grayish yellow. At this moment, it is close, but it is not a cloud, but a layer of grayish yellow wind. Flying sand and stone, countless blown yellow sand and dead branches filled the air, and the overwhelming gust of wind. There is a gray circular wind group of about 2 or 3 feet in diameter. Among the winds, they are all a vulture-like monster beast, but this monster beast with a similar shape to the vulture has 4 claws, the naked body is gray-black, and 4 paws. It is cyan. A whirlwind of the stalk circled outside the monster beast, forming a gray round whistles. It's the wind-up of the 4-legged vulture, the level 5 low grade. There are so many. At a glance, the monster beast inside. Qingping ignored Li Ruohe, the absolute great treasure of the monster beast identification, and could not help but issued a surging sound. It's no wonder that Qingping is like this. The number of monster beasts in this overwhelming wind is really amazing. The circular winds are dense and at least look like tens of thousands. At this moment, a group of blue and white spirit light is secret place in the siege of many such monster beasts. Looking from afar, it seems that there are countless gray balls suspended outside the blue and white spirit light. There are balls that slam into the blue and white spirit light from all sides, and the ball is flying. The cyan wind blades are like rain. The blue-white spirit light is as far as possible to dodge among these gray winds, and a unique piece of music surging sound is continually faintly emitted from the blue-white spirit light. From time to time, there was a close-up of the windy-legged vulture, which was close to the blue and white spirit light. Suddenly, the madman was a great treasure, and he couldn't recognize the adversary. He turned around and attacked the rest of the wind, the four-legged vulture. This person is using beast confusing horn, which should be the cultivator of the demons. Hearing this unique, woo-woo music surging sound, and then seeing such a scene, Li Ruohe will lightly surging sound. Eudemons, Wei Suo frowned, and heavenly profound continent's most famous sect-based sect is the Spirit Beast Palace and the Eudemons. And the Eudemons in the heavenly profound continent northern part is also known as the Great Sect, with several golden core cultivators. The strength is still above the Spirit Beast Palace, also belongs to the kind of sect that is not easy to provoke. However, at this time, the blue and white spirit light was left in the overwhelming wind, but it never rushed out, but with the beast confusing horn shapeshift great art great treasure that Li Ruohe said. Support, for a long time, this cultivator is definitely the result of the inevitable degeneration. Fellow Daoist Wei, let's first kill a treasure, solve these monster beasts, save the cultivator and see what the lust situation is. How, after judging the identity of the cultivator in the gusty wind, Li Ruohe glanced at Wei Suo and said indifferently. Haha, we don't solve these monster beasts, these monster beasts also want to solve us, not to mention the monster beast is also worth a lot of crystal stone. It is difficult to find so many monster beasts, passing by, of course, cannot be missed. Wei Suo haha smiled and reached out, but directly sacrificed the flying sword of the door. The tour of Qingcheng ruins, in the end, is for pure void vine. In order to repair 2 spiritual roots and prepare for the culture immortal root 5 secrets, the fly spirit can also be used to form the gold spirit root. Now the door is flying. Sword, Wei Suo is naturally used more. Fellow Daoist's flying sword is really strange. As soon as he saw Wei Suo offering the flying sword, Li Ruohe couldn't help but smile, but immediately encouraged True Yuan and rolled out the surging sound. Is there a fellow Daoist inside the Eudemons? Under Ubuji, it is the cultivator of the Eudemons. As soon as I heard Li Ruohe's surging sound, the blue-white spirit light group suddenly gave a surging sound. This surging sound is a male voice, it sounds sharper, and the age should not be great treasure. Li Ruohe the surging sound sounded, and the cultivator in the blue and white spirit light did not say more, but it was already the front winds of many winds, the four-legged vulture, rushing toward Li Ruohe and Wei Suo. And 2. Seeing this lust shape, Li Ruohe smiled a little and reached out with a white handkerchief shapeshift great art great treasure. The white handkerchief shapeshift great art great treasure is inlaid with a lot of jade and shapeshift great art beads. It looks very beautiful, and with a blue-yellow True Yuan from Li Ruohe, this white handkerchief shapeshift great art great treasure the white treasure of the captain, which formed a white light mask of the giant treasure, wrapped the entire Chi fire boat. At the same time, Shapeshift Great Art Reverend also reached out and presented a Shapeshift Great Art Great Treasure with a bead bracelet. With his True Yuan, his Shapeshift Great Art Great Treasure was uplifted. 18 Yellow spirit light clusters of about 1 foot in diameter, suspended in a white divine light screen, like 16 shields, hovering around Chi fire boat. Upon seeing such a lust scene, Wei Suo did not close Chi fire boat, but just took a shot on his treasure receiving pocket, and the black light flashed, but the Black Bone Dark Lord was also released. Immediately, Wei Suo took out the golden shapeshift great art great treasure that inspired the lion's head. Boom! Only at the top of the wind, four-legged vulture is about 500 feet away from Chi fire boat. Wei Suo has inspired the golden shapeshift great art great treasure, a bright golden thunder light column. The frontmost wind-fighting four-legged vulture was thrown down in the dark. This person's divine consciousness is indeed more than the cultivator of the golden core fourth layer. When I saw such a lust scene, Li Ruohe and Qi Longshan and others were a slight glimpse of the heart. Obviously, Wei Suo's hit is the result of precise locking with divine consciousness. Such a distance attack, even Li Ruohe is unmatched. Qi. Golden shapeshift great art great treasure inspired by the moment, Wei Suo's front of a surging sound, the flapping of the sound, the flying sword of the door is also turned into a golden brilliance, spurt out. Pa. 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 Like the ball, the wind four-legged vulture flying in front of the road was unstoppable by his flying sword and flew backwards. Fortunately, the number of monster beasts is so many. If there are only a few hundred heads, I am afraid that he will be killed by him alone, and we have to become a real foil upon seeing such a scene. Qingping couldn't help but feel such a thought. But this is not counting. There is a surging sound, and only a blue-black brilliance is spurred hundreds of feet away. However, Wei Suo also released Mystic Fiend Ghost Claw, Golden Shapeshift Great Art Great Treasure and the Flying Sword. Every time I killed a wind four-legged vulture, Wei Suo's Mystic Fiend Ghost Claw quickly retrieved it, just a moment. At the time, Wei Suo has already caught more than a dozen winds, four-legged vulture. Dedication. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 487. Chapter 487 Miser. The scope of the attack of Feng four-legged vulture, the great treasure is also within 100 feet. Vertex novels, handwriting novels. Wei Suo attacked these wind four-legged vultures at such a distance, killing these wind four-legged vultures, and it was as easy as cutting vegetables. And it was Wei Suo who deliberately left the hand and didn't use Heaven Overflowing River Scroll, the shapeshift great art great treasure. The reason for this is that the power of Heaven Overflowing River Scroll is slightly more precious, and it is very likely that these monster beasts will be torn apart. These monster beasts are used by Wei Suo for the secret treasure with secret place, which is used to cultivate mind-devouring bug and immortal slaying vine. According to past experience, mind-devouring bug has been consuming a monster beast of a certain department, and it is likely to advance the talents similar to this monster beast. Usually Wei Suo is trying to find so many wind attribute monster beasts that reach level 5. Now, of course, like the miser, it is not willing to waste. However, these winds of the four-legged vulture are also not afraid of death. In a flash, the dense wind of the four-legged vulture has already surged, layer by layer surrounded by the Chi fire boat where Wei Suo and others are located. If you change the general 5 or 6 cultivators surrounded by so many winds of the four-legged vulture, I am afraid that it has already been unmanned, just thinking about how to run, but now this Chi fire boat is what kind of characters. Seeing such a lust scene, I saw Li Ruohe just a faint wave of hand, a black splendid light flew out of his hand. This black splendid light is an essence metal chain that is about 10 feet long. The whole chain has the thickness of an arm and the head is the shape of a python. And on each chain, there is a strange rune flow. After the black chain was sacrificed, it was empty and the wind-legged vulture, which was caught by the chain, was a surging sound, and suddenly lost any resistance and fell into a stiff body. Its speed of killing the wind-legged vulture is completely out of the Wei Suo's flying sword. Shapeshift Great Art Hua Reverend is now offering a Shapeshift Great Art Great Treasure with a golden long-lived fruit. This Shapeshift Great Art Great Treasure is a teleport type Shapeshift Great Art Great Treasure. Every time it shines, there will be a wind four-legged vulture that can't resist and be beaten down. In front of Qi Longshan and Qingping, they each showed a blue long sword. Both swords are watery, and there are several square light characters flowing inside, like several talisman, very strange. These two long swords are obviously all shapeshift great art condense, but with the controls of Qi Longshan and Qingping, the swords that the shapeshift great art condenses are also the same as the real flying sword. It is free to do so, and it is very flexible in the air. And each time the 5 or 6 winds of the four-legged vulture were killed, the power energy of the two water swords was almost lost. After the water mist spread out, the two men again applied shapeshift great art. Each condensed such a water sword. At this time shapeshift great art Reverend Bede's bracelet like shapeshift great art great treasure 16 of the light regiment, is floating to the Li Ruohe of white divine light screen outside. Help Li Ruohe this white divine light screen block a lot of exciting to the wind blades, and Wei Suo's black bone dark the Lord is also the main defense, which headwind emperor four-legged vulture most close to the white divine light screen, is a black beam of light hit the past. For a time, these wind four-legged vulture could not pose any threat to Wei Suo and others, but fell like rain. It seems that it is still necessary to have more cultivation base friends. Wei Suo couldn't help but send out a feeling of surging sound in my heart. If only he is alone, it is still very difficult to face so many wind four-legged vultures. After all, hundreds of wind-fighting four-legged vulture launched a series of shapeshift great art bombardment. He is also very difficult to resist, basically only being able to fight, being trapped is also fierce. But at this moment, the wind-legged vulture, which is basically close to them, was immediately killed. Now facing so many wind four-legged vultures, it is very easy to play with the mountains. It was only this moment that Wei Suo had already caught more than 70 wind-legged vultures. As a result, Qi Fire Boat rushed directly to the front of the group of blue and white brilliance. Sea Green White Spirit Light Regiment, is a wearing purple shapeshift great art clothing, looks some emaciated young cultivator, hair into a small braid, the ear hanging two small gold ring. The dress and costume are very different from the cultivator in the south of heavenly profound continent, the green white spirit light, which is emitted from a bony disc that he treads on. At the moment, his hand is holding a red horn-shaped shapeshift great art great treasure, and there are several strange and unique rune outside the shapeshift great art great treasure. Under his controls, there is a burst of Wu. Wu's music is surging sound. At first glance, Wei Suo and others seemed to swim in the mountains, and it was extremely easy to kill them. The cultivator suddenly showed some horror. Killing the town beast chain. Seniors are spirit beast palace. And at a glance, the black chain that Li Ruohe sacrificed in the air, the cultivator suddenly took a look of air. I am Li Ruohe, you come in and talk. Li Ruohe faintly looked at the cultivator and nodded. The cultivator was in a hurry and immediately flew into Qi Fire Boat. Yubuji, the younger generation, is the 3 disciple of the sect master Li Yuan. Thank you for your help. After flying into Qi Fire Boat, the white-faced young cultivator immediately greeted Li Ruohe and Wei Suo. You don't have to be polite. Li Ruohe looked at the cultivator without moving the surging sound and asked directly, how can this secret place have such an amazing monster beast? Predecessors, do you know about the Tears of Heaven's dome outside Yellow Path City? The white-faced young cultivator took a slight breath and took out a few pieces of True Yuan's medicine pill to swallow it down. We traveled to Gijin City, heard the Heaven's Dome breach outside Yellow Path City, and the transmission of the shapeshift great art array from Gijin City, so we rushed to Yellow Path City from this secret place. Li Ruohe's brow slightly jumped. Don't you come from Yellow Path City? What is the lust shape of Yellow Path City at the moment? I was in the wilderness between Yellow Path City and Minamata. I got the news and rushed over. White Flower young cultivator Yubuji took a deep breath, but the eyes of horror is not the slightest reduction, because at the moment Wei Suo and other people are hands and feet non-stop, hunting up the wind around the emperor four-legged vulture up like a random harvest of fruit, especially Wei Suo, this time to speak, Ubuji has seen Weisuo has been more than 40 Wind Emperor 4-legged vulture income bag. At the moment, although Weisuo and others are not visible outside of spiritual chi, from this divine ability, he also sees that Weisuo and others are the identity of Golden Core Great Treasure Cultivator. I don't know how the lust shape in Yellow Path City is. After taking a deep breath, Ubuji went on. When I got to the vicinity of Yellow Path City, the Heaven's Dome Rip was not blocked at all. The radius around Yellow Path City was within a few thousand miles. It was already cultivator and monster. A battle of beast. The number of monster beasts is amazing. I was first stared at by a level 6 mid-level monster beast, fled more than 2,000 miles, and finally got rid of the monster beast. When I wanted to detour to Yellow Path City, I ran into this again. Great Treasure Group Monster Beast. This group of monster beast, the speed is not under me, I seek and not get rid of, only as far as possible to the direction of the Unreal City, thinking that maybe the way will encounter Magic City came to fellow deist, but the younger generation is also lucky. These monster beasts, the number is too amazing, if not meet your predecessors, even if encounter other Unreal City cultivator, I am afraid it is not helpful, doomed to fall in this secret place. We have received news when we arrived, and the shapeshift great art array connected by the Water City and Yellow Path City was also damaged. Li Ruohei's brow wrinkled slightly and said, as long as you expect, Yellow Path City can still hold it. When I got there, basically all the cultivators were fighting each other, and they couldn't block the Heaven's Dome Rip. Not surprisingly, Yellow Path City is definitely unstoppable. Ubuji's face is a bit ugly. To tell the truth, we rushed to Yellow Path City this time, mainly to see how the Heaven's Dome Rip is going on. This Heaven's Dome has broken 3 times in these 10 days, and you are the singer of this Heaven's Dome. Presumably, you should also pay attention to it. Do you know anything? Li Ruohei asked after a slight indulging. Heaven's Dome's powerful energy is unpredictable, and we can't see the change at all. We can't see any clues in our Eudemon's palace, but before we even got the warning of Northern Bright Sect, it was Heaven's Dome. It is not possible to crack again. Ubuji looked at Li Ruohei and replied, the Northern Bright Sect cultivation base has a lot of predecessors, and thousands of years of accumulation. It is possible to study some of the mystery of Heaven's Dome. Now the lust shape of Yellow Path City, sects such as Northern Bright Sect, and possibly the Great Treasure Cultivator will be rushed over. If you ask them, you may be able to find out some news. Ubuji commented on this and added this sentence. Fellow deist Wei, do these monster beasts have great treasure for you with secret place? At this time, Qi Longshan and Qingping were a little bit sorrowful about Weisuo. Because Weisuo seems to be trying to steal money at the moment, I feel that it is not fast enough to collect these wind-powered 4-legged beasts. Actually, the shapeshift great art and the mind-devouring bug are released, so that the two things work together, and it is also a face-to-face. Moreover, the shapeshift great art can be rolled back with the musk. These monster beasts I can use to nurture my mind-devouring bug. If fellow deist thinks that these monster beasts are not too great treasure with secret place, you can also give me the body of these monster beast. The more valuable monster core, you can keep the fellow deist. Weisuo, a shameful haha, said. These monster beasts are really not too great for us to use secret places. Since there is a great treasure for fellow deist, then all to fellow deist is what some monster cores are. Qi Longshan and Qingping are also helping Weisuo to put these monsters up. For the golden core cultivator, spiritual stones is basically no shortage. The only thing missing is the materials and the spicy herb that are useful for your own culture. This level 5 low-grade monster beast, in the general cultivator seems to be a very good thing, but for the golden core cultivator, the level is indeed a bit low, not to use secret place, in the hands, at most, I just sold some of the spiritual stones. Hearing the conversation between Qi Longshan and Qingping, and seeing Weisuo's eyes shining, a lot of good looks, Shapeshift Great Art Hua Reverend and Li Ruohe also smiled and killed the captured wind four-legged vulture. Also gave Wei Suo. In front of Wei Suo's, the head of the wind, the four-legged vulture, soon became a hill. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 488. Chapter 488 Emperor Blackbird, Flaming Feather Cloud Crane. No wonder the cultivator of the four cities of Xiangcheng and Gijin City. When you hear the heavens dome break, you will have to break your head and go to Yellow Path City. This heavens dome breach also seems to suddenly drop a great treasure, for the great treasure most cultivator, is also an opportunity. Wei Suo made such a sigh in his heart. Only half stick of incense, he was able to collect more than 2,000 wind four-legged vulture. This harvest is much better than the good secret place that he got when he was in the Pagoda Tree Village. Because that time he had a total of 3,000–4,000 monster beasts, but the great treasure part is still the monster beast below level 4, no more than today is the level 5 low-grade monster beast. More than 2,000 level 5 low-grade monster beasts, if they fall into the hands of a heavenly circuit realm cultivator, it is an amazing asset. The ordinary cultivator, although certainly no shapeshift great art, like Wei Suo and so on, has received so many monster beasts, but grabbed a few monsters that have great treasure with secret place, but it is also extremely possible. Of course, this is also the lust of the animal's dome crack caused by the animal's tide. If heaven's dome splits more than one, the cultivator can't resist the monster beast, that is another matter. After killing more than 200 winds of four-legged vulture in succession, the remaining fen-legged vulture seems to have finally reacted. These cultivators are not what they can afford, and they began to escape in 4 secret places. Wei Suo and others will naturally not let these monster beasts slip away easily. After all, this level of monster beast is not a big deal for them, but the ordinary heavenly circuit realm cultivator, when encountering such a few monster beast, they are all unstoppable. At the moment, Wei Suo and others are scattered, and the remaining thousands of monster beasts are chased. After killing nearly 2,000 such monster beasts in a row, and the rest of the monster beast were scattered, the talents such as Wei Suo gathered in a secret place. Together, Wei Suo received a total of 4,000 and hundreds of wind four-legged vultures. Wei Suo estimated that the brains of so many monsters were swallowed up. If mind-devouring bug is not advanced, it would be no it's justified. As for the fantasy palace's cultivator named Yubuji, the singer four-legged vulture, Wei Suo and others did not charge, and Yubuji did not dare to refrain from devoking in front of them. Stand up. Next, I asked Yubuji. After listening to him and still want to go to Yellow Path City, Wei Suo and others did not talk nonsense and continued to move directly toward Yellow Path City. Continuing in the direction of Yellow Path City, the number of scattered monster beasts has increased significantly. In the midst of the line of sight, there are occasional monster beasts at the level 5 high level that are rarely seen among Heaven's Dome. The monster beast in the sky along the way, and Wei Suo and others are close to each other. After Wei Suo and others were found, those who chased Wei Suo and others were killed by Wei Suo and others. Far away, it quickly disappeared into the sight of Wei Suo and others. SS. Waiting for a few hundred miles from Yellow Path City, Yellow Path City can only barely see in the sight of Wei Suo and others. Like a small bean curd, Wei Suo and others immediately took a sip. Air conditioning. I saw that within the range of 5 to 6 miles around Yellow Path City, both in the sky and on the ground, all of them were covered with black spots, full of various brilliance and mist. To the secret place, there is a constant burst of flames, the baleful aura emitted by the monster beast, the smoke generated by the cultivator shapeshift great art and the shapeshift great art great treasure, all scattered to the secret place. Countless monster beast and cultivator are in fierce battles. The entire Yellow Path City has become a horse-like honeycomb. The secret place is full of flames and explosions, and countless black spots are worn in and out. At the top of the Yellow Path City, there is a green reticle with a green light column and a flame that is constantly struck, and the black spots are densely populated around and above the green reticle. It looks like the variation scenery caused by the golden core cultivator core formation, forming a black funnel shape. It's still not clear from Yellow Path City and the 2-3,000 mile Heaven's Dome, but the direction of Heaven's Dome still comes from the black spots of the Great Treasure Group. The crack of the heaven-shaped Heaven's Dome should be blocked. That is the gate of Huangdaozong. The monster beast has completely penetrated Yellow Path City, and now the cultivator is definitely a disadvantage of secret place. As soon as he saw this lust scene, Yubuji's face suddenly became pale. Going forward for a while, the area of the Yellow Path City, which is 700 miles away, looks exactly like purgatory. There are many monster beast and cultivator battles on the ground. From time to time, monster beast or cultivator is killed, and the sky is also cultivator and monster beast to secret place. From time to time, monster beast and cultivator fall. The whole army, which had already been vast, was constantly expanding the great treasure, because from time to time there was a cultivator spurting out, but there was a monster beast in the back, and occasionally there were 3 or 5 groups coming from the secret place. The cultivator and the monster beast battle together. Yubuji, after we go in, we may not be able to take care of you. We will let you down at this secret place, and you will be careful. Li Ruohe and Wei Suo and others looked at each other. After a few sound transmissions, Li Ruohe said this directly to Yubuji. Seeing such an amazing scene at the moment, in addition to a slight shock, Li Ruohe and Wei Suo and others are also somewhat tempted. Not to mention the current number is unimaginable, all kinds of monster beast, the entire Yellow Path City, there must have been a lot of good things. At this moment, Yellow Path City has been completely destroyed, completely chaotic, destroyed shops, things falling from the cultivator, they do not take, the rest of the cultivator is also not polite. Putting Yubuji in this secret place, after entering Yellow Path City, they are even less apologetic. Thank you all for your predecessors. When he heard Li Ruohe, Yubuji naturally did not dare to have any evasiveness. When he moved, he plucked Chi Fire Boat. Only then continued to spur more than 100 miles, Wei Suo's brow suddenly jumped, his eyes completely attracted by the sky above the green mask of Yellow Path City. In the sky directly above the top of the green reticle, a black cloud of a great treasure group floats, and countless sharp howl hovering around it, forming a black funnel monster beast around the green reticle, all against the black. The cloud is extremely fearful, and it is at least 5.5 feet apart from the black cloud. Among the black clouds, there are 3 black dragon-like monsters that are rolling. These 3 black dragon-shaped monster beasts spotty astonishing huge great treasure, is Wei Suo has seen naked the most great treasure monster beast. These 3 black dragon-like monster beast at the moment naked body great treasure half is still in the black cloud, cannot see the whole picture, but occasionally reveals black cloud, tumbling body, has more than 10 jang, looks like this monster beast the entire length of at least super over 30 feet. The diameter of the rolled body is also at least a few feet. Compared with the naked body type of the giant treasure, the naked body of the cultivator is really a small ant. This kind of naked body type monster beast, it seems that a giant grease treasure of dozens of feet, can be directly smashed under its plate. Emperor Black. It is actually the level 7 mid-level Emperor Black Scorpion, and there are 3. Looking along Wei Suo's eyes, Li Ruohe also saw the 3 naked body type terrifying monster beast, slightly changed his face. The adult Emperor Black will condense an Emperor Rouge in the naked body, which is the great treasure to enhance the cultivation base. When I saw these 3 naked body type terrifying extreme monster beast, and then heard Li Ruohe say the names of the 3 monster beasts, Qi Longshan's eyes were a flash of light. These three emperors are black and look like it has become a climate. How do we kill these three monster beasts? With our 5 people, we should have managed 3 monster beasts. Fellow Daoist Wei, shapeshift great art Hua fellow Daoist, what do you mean? Okay, then kill the 3 monster beasts first. Wei Suo and shapeshift great art Hua Reverend nodded. Without a slight stop, Chi fire boat slammed straight toward Yellow Path City. In the twinkling of an eye, the monster Chi of Haoshan came in, and Wei Suo and others had already rushed into the battlefield of the giant great treasures of countless cultivators and monster beasts. Between a breath, a dozen colors of brilliance emerged from the Chi fire boat, and the cultivator that had been fighting with the monster beast in Chi fire boat was suddenly under pressure, and the surrounding monster beast was instantly killed. And most of the great treasures that were killed by the great treasure were all involved in Chi fire boat by several brilliance. There are seniors with golden core stage. Come on. Death. After the monster beast around these cultivators was instantly killed, many of them fled directly to the rear, and the rest were strangled with the surrounding monster beast. In the targeted lust situation, the monster beast along the way can kill and kill. Killing is not dead, it will not matter. Chi fire boat does not stop, all the way to the top of Yellow Path City. See the whole Yellow Path City scale compared to Spirit Peak City, also slightly great treasure, a little bit of appearance, but also in a hill on the mountain, but now almost all the buildings in the city have been damaged. To secret place are broken walls, to secret place are burning buildings. There are many cultivator decorate the shapeshift great art array, restrictions, and a variety of monster beast fight. At this moment, the distance is short, and the 3 naked kings of the Black Kings look even more amazing, and they are more suffocating. In the tumbling black clouds, from time to time, the black flame of the giant great treasure falls on the green divine light screen at the top of the Yellow Path City. This divine light screen great treasure is shrouded in dozens of miles. Although divine light screen, there are dense flame and should be the mountain shapeshift great art array fired bucket like weight of green. The beam of light kept rushing out, occasionally shooting down a number of monster beast. It looks like the Huangdaozong of the gate inside, but also gathered at least thousands of cultivator, but around the divine light screen flying circled monster beast, there are at least 20,000 or 30,000 of them. These monster beast emitted, not intercepted by the flame, non-stop impact on the divine light screen, non-stop issued a huge great treasure of the explosion surging sound. The color of this green divine light screen is obviously slowly becoming lighter. Within the entire Yellow Path City area, in addition to the 3 imperial black scorpions that give a strong sense of great treasure, there is also a torrent of red flames that are extremely amazing. Inside the red flame that slammed into the Yellow Path City, all of the feathers on the head were like the burning immortal crane-like monster beast, at least 7 or 8 heads. A lot of flaming feather cloud crane, first set up shapeshift great art to remove some of these monster beasts, otherwise we would not be cheap if they were besieged by these 3 emperors and these monster beasts. Upon seeing the monster beast, which was covered in red flames, Li Ruohe frowned immediately and made such a surging sound. Flaming feather cloud crane is a level 6 mid-level monster beast. Monster beast above this level is not commonly encountered outside Heaven's Dome, but in this Yellow Path City, the number is actually there. So much dedication. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 489. Chapter 489, Hot Springs. Your life, Wei Suo took a trip. Vertex Novels, Handwriting Novels. In his previous thoughts, Nangong Yuking was just like him, originating in the rogue cultivator family's ordinary rogue cultivator. Because he knew Nangong Yuking's cultivation base was not too high, and the iron policy he joined was not really a powerful organization. Spirit Peak City like him and rogue cultivator like Nangong Yuking, there are so many. But listening to Nangong Yuking, she doesn't seem to be like the ordinary Super Peak City aborigines like Wei Suo. Why parents used to be a cultivator in a small town called Antler City in heavenly profound continent central region. Later, because of complaints with other cultivators, I turned to Spirit Peak City. Angong Yuking glanced at Wei Suo and said, when my parents also hunted the monster beast outside Heaven's Dome, they died in the hands of the monster beast, leaving me alone. Who is your parents complaining with? Wei Suo's brow suddenly wrinkled. The name of the antler city he never heard of, certainly the heavenly profound continent central region, a humble little town, but he is now a cultivation base. Heard Nangong Yuking say that the first reaction is of course to help Nangong Yuking to take the lead in teaching the cultivator that was grievances with her parents. I don't have to investigate the grievances. According to my parents, my mother's teacher is going to assign her to another cultivator, and then she runs away with my father to Spirit Peak City. The red cloud on Nangong Yuking's face is a bit stronger. My mother's teacher, now I don't know what's going on. I tell you this, and I don't want you to shoot. After all, my mother's teacher didn't deal with her later and my father. I tell you this, just because, at the beginning of my mother's teacher, she must marry another cultivator, which is the reason for the great treasure. /P. What is the reason for great treasure? What is the reason? Wei Suo is being said to be getting more and more confused. My mother's naked body is a bit special. Nangong Yuking saw Wei Suo and said at a glance. Act body is a bit special? Is the spiritual roots cultivator? Ei Suo stunned. Not a spiritual roots. Nangong Yuking shook her head. Her naked body, if it is a Dao companion, and a dual cultivation, it will bring an extra secret place to the male cultivator. Our heavenly profound continent does not. This says shapeshift great art, but it is said that other great treasure land is called the naked body with such a female cultivator. Wonderful furnace cauldron. Angong Yuking's words have not been spoken, and Wei Suo, who was stunned by his eyes, was interrupted. Yes, according to Cloud Spirit Continent, shapeshift great art, the female body of the female cultivator is called wonderful furnace cauldron. Nangong Yuking nodded. You and I said this, your naked body quality, it is not. Wei Suo eyes read treasure a good great treasure for a while, then swallowed a mouthful. God lust some weird look at Nangong Yuking said. I listened to my mother and I said that my naked body is the same as her. Nangong Yuking looked at Wei Suo and nodded. Nangong Yuking is also wonderful furnace cauldron physique. No wonder the beautiful female cultivator is so much, but Nangong Yuking always feels different from the general female cultivator. If you remember correctly, Wei Suo remembers that Yin Liwa and himself have said that Han Wei seems to be also wonderful furnace cauldron physique. Moreover, Wei Suo knows from the population of Xuanhuan old ancestor and Li Yazan about the wonderful furnace cauldron, and it is also very clear that the wonderful furnace cauldron's naked body is exactly the same as the spiritual root's naked body. But now Nangong Yuking is actually wonderful furnace cauldron physique, which is too much to make Wei Suo feel a little unbelievable. After knowing about the wonderful furnace cauldron, Jiya and Wei Suo dual cultivation, Jiya also regretted Wei Suo, but she was not wonderful furnace cauldron physique, otherwise Wei Suo dual cultivation can bring more great treasure to the secret place of Wei Suo. As a result, Wei Suo smiled extremely embarrassedly, and then Jiya was caught. He said that the diligence can make up for it. Even if the natural talent of the great treasure is worse, then there are more times of cultivation, and the great treasure is not twice. Have someone else's time. As a result, Jiya was so shy that Wei Suo had repaired it more than once, and Jiya did not dare to mention the words wonderful furnace cauldron. I don't think you are a naked body with wonderful furnace cauldron physique. After Wei Suo finally returned to God, he looked at Nangong Yuking and asked, as far as I can tell, wonderful furnace cauldron physique is also of many kinds. What kind of naked body are you? I don't know this. Nangong Yuking answered Wei Suo seriously, but his face was unconscious and red. My mother just knows that she has such a naked body, but she doesn't know what kind of naked body it is. Ive got it? Wei Suo, you can take me into the treasure receiving pocket. Rian-robed old man, who had never taken the lead at this time, suddenly called such a surging sound. I get it. Hearing the first half of green-robed old man, Wei Suo thought he knew what kind of wonderful furnace cauldron physique Nangongyuking was, but after hearing the second sentence of green-robed old man, Wei Suo was again a little bit worried. Old man, what do you mean by this? What else can you mean? Green-robed old man's figure emerged, looking at Wei Suo with an extremely sly look. You idiot, what kind of wonderful furnace cauldron? Don't know if you try since she has talked to you about this. Isn't she just trying to see what good secret place can bring you, and your dual cultivation? Nangongyuking, or you still don't want to be his Dao companion? This guy is really stupid, and he doesn't understand the wind. I really can't stand it. /p. This, Wei Suo listened to green-robed old man and said that he couldn't help but look at Nangongyuking. Even when Nangongyuking and Wei Suo were together, how unruly rubbing made, not tweaking. Now I heard green-robed old man say this, and Wei Suo looked at it, and suddenly his face was covered with red clouds. Nothing to say. As soon as I saw Nangongyuking's non-speaking look, Wei Suo suddenly responded and grabbed Ghost Raising Jar in a very cumbersome way, ready to immediately put Ghost Raising Jar into the treasure receiving pocket. Hang on, but at this time, green-robed old man, who had long expected this result, suddenly made a pause gesture and shouted a surging sound. What the matter? Didn't you understand? Eisuo looks at green-robed old man. I suddenly remembered something, but don't blame me for not reminding you. Green-robed old man looked at Wei Suo's disdainful surging sound. The Yangshuo you got from the hands of heaven-catching reverend was originally to be used in conjunction with other Yin Yuan spiritual herbs. Pill has the power of great treasure, Yang Yuan, Qi, and blood, but with your dual cultivation power shapeshift great art, you should be able to directly refining, giving both of you a good secret place. Aphrodisiac, Wei Suo took a shot on the treasure receiving pocket and took out a transparent crystal stone pill bottle. I saw a bunch of emerald green brilliance. It was a hippocampus-shaped rhizome. It was Wei Suo and heaven-catching reverend. The strong aphrodisiac obtained after the fight. Remember what you promised me before. After green-robed old man turned over the roll one's eyes, the green light flashed and he retracted directly into the ghost-raising jar. This time, Wei Suo is of course very easy to put ghost-raising jar into the treasure receiving pocket. But after Ghost Raising Jar was included in the treasure receiving pocket, only Wei Suo and Nangongyuking were left, and Wei Suo held the aphrodisiac in one hand, but it was awkward. Eisuo, you take this aphrodisiac out at this time. Nangongyuking looked at Wei Suo and said seriously. This time, Wei Suo was almost directly caught by his own saliva. I am coming to you now, and my mind is the same as what your green-robed old man said. The look of Nangongyuking's face was settled down and looked at Wei Suo. When you go to Qingcheng ruins, no one knows what kind of danger. The difference between the cultivators and the deaths is a normal thing. No one has the shapeshift great art guarantee. After a long time, I will see you on time. Your parents and I are also going out in peacetime, but after going out, there is no longer. Come back. Your current divine ability is no longer comparable to the regular rogue cultivator, but since I promised to do your Dao companion, plus this dual cultivation, shapeshift great art also has secret place for you. Now I naturally want to body intercourse to you, and you become the real Dao companion. /p. According to Wei Suo's own look at shapeshift great art, if there was an absolute beauty female cultivator to say this to him, Wei Suo felt that he would definitely be very wretched and immediately got together, and he was happy, but now he heard Nangongyuking. That being said, Wei Suo found that he had a feeling of being solemn in his heart. Gazing at the beauty of Nangongyuking, Wei Suo suddenly laughed. But we haven't had a hot spring together yet. Then wait for the next hot spring to talk. Nangongyuking looked at Wei Suo with a good air and a funny look, deliberately turned to go. Wait a moment, elder sister. However, Wei Suo suddenly took her hand and he smiled. What kind of ghost are you going to do? Nangong Yuking's palm was slightly warm and couldn't help but want to knock on Wei Suo's head. Look, I saw Wei Suo smiled, but it was full of refining the water bamboo before the body. A pair of clear blue water spirit Yuan Chi Chi, constantly retired by Wei Suo from the bamboo, and so many water spirit Yuan Chi, Wei Suo is not used to sacrifice black water lotus. I saw that with the increasing number of water spirit Yuan Chi, these water spirit Yuan Chi, first condense a crystal clear water droplets, and then more and more water beads gathered together, waiting for all through the water bamboo was refining, the water spirit Yuan Chi, which was drawn out, was in the air of this quiet room, forming a giant great treasure water mass of 2 or 3 feet in diameter. Immediately, a white true fire spurt out of Wei Suo's, wrapped around the water mass, burning the air outside the water. The temperature of this giant great treasure water mass has risen significantly. Just a short while, Wei Suo received true fire, a little black water lotus. Black water lotus is 4 lotus petals, but it was displayed, like a bowl, holding the group of crystal clear water on it. Black water lotus is in contact with the water mass of the amazing water spirit Yuan Chi condense. Naturally it is constantly absorbing water spirit Yuan Chi, but looking at the speed of absorption, but at least a great treasure for half a day, this will be the water of the giant great treasure is all absorbed. How, my hot spring is not bad. Nangong Yuking a surging sound, low sounding exclaiming sound. Only Wei Suo first released a soundproof divine light screen, and also released the black bone dark lord, held at the door, but at the same time, it was a pull Nangong Yuking, both of them plunged into the warm giant treasure water group. At the same time as the fly, the coats of the 2 men have fallen like butterflies. The next chapter also wants to see more violent storms, then the red ticket is also a little bit to force. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 490. Almost all monster beasts have a natural awe of heaven. This sense of awe is not many times greater than the monk's awe of the sky dome. Because the monk was only in awe of the monk who created the sky dome at that time, and the monster was dying when he hit the sky dome. The monk's flesh, blood, and even the gold monk's golden pill are all things that are full of vitality and aura. For many high-level monsters, the monk is equivalent to the elixir and spirit stone that can give them cultivation. Among the continents covered by the sky dome, there are countless monk cities and countless monks. Inside the sky dome, for the monster, it is a huge sweet bun. Usually there is a sky dome. Most monsters are still in awe of nature. They dare not be too close to the sky dome. But if the sky dome disappears or splits, the countless monsters will swarm and fight for this fragrance. Steamed buns. At that time, I am afraid that the density of monsters in the Tianqian continent is actually much higher than that outside the sky dome. However, it is said that this ancient existence, and to the feeling of all monks, that the sky that will exist forever, will probably not be able to support it, let alone Han Wei or Ji Ya, even when he came to discuss this matter with Wei Suo. Zhang Zhuoyu and others remembered it at the moment, they still had a feeling that they couldn't believe it. Right, now how many of your bullet in Tiandan have been refined? Wei Suo took a look at Han Wei, who had obviously been convinced by him, and then turned to look at Zhen Chongming and asked. Buishandan? Boss, don't you say anything about this, you can't let any outsiders know? Now they are here, you still ask me? Zhen Chongming suddenly opened his mouth in surprise. Hearing Zhen Chongming saying this, Wei Suo also wanted to cry without tears. Anyway, this guy also followed Feng Zhao, but now he asked him himself, but he still regards Feng Zhao as an outsider, and he didn't want to say anything about Bullet in Tiandan in front of Feng Zhao. Brother Feng, the 3 of them have already married my brother, they are not outsiders. In front of the 3 of them, they can mention this matter, but except for the 3 of them, they can't say the word Bullet in Tiandan to anyone. Faced with a guy with such a lack of roots in his head, Wei Suo did not dare to save effort, and explained in detail. The traditional Chinese medicine of Buletin Tiandan was originally intended for Wei Ziyu, Zhangzhuayu, and Shi Changqing. Especially in this trip to the Bliss Palace, after seeing the real people of Tianluo and the so-called Xianyun League, Wei Zhuo realized that if a monk did not have some trusted strong friends, he was still very weak. After all, even if Wei Zhuo is even more powerful now, it is impossible to be able to withstand the fact that Tianluo lively added a few Jindan monks. Zhangzhuayu and Feng Ziyu have had a lifelong relationship with him, and he also heard Zhangzhuayu and Feng Ziyu talk before, and Shi Changqing and them also experienced the test of life and death. These three people are absolutely trustworthy for Wei Zhuo. Now that there are things like Hui Dao Dan, etc., in Wei Zhuo's prediction, Jiya's impact on Jindan is only a matter of these 2 years, and the success rate can be said to be great. Next, if Zhangzhuayu's three people can also become Jindan monks, then the power of this group of people in Wei Zhuo can be said to be extremely great, even if it is a sect of the corpse sect, unless it is related to the life and death of the sect, it is absolutely they dare not provoke them. And now that his fame is growing, he will definitely gain a lot of strength. The sect door like the corpse sect, the power is not as good as the top sect door of the Xianfeng Gate and the northern Ming Zone, and I don't know how much the difference is. Of course, he didn't dare to be so arrogant that he could walk sideways without any care. The remedy of Buishandan is always in Wei Zhuo's hands, and it is impossible to spread it. Now the stronger the strength of the people around him, the more beneficial to him, of course, and the immortal medicine of supplementing Tiandan has a pioneering effect on Zhenhai before Jindan realm, which can open Zhenhai to the lower level of heaven. The level, after Jindan Qiu Wei, is also useless. Oh, boss, since you said that they are not outsiders, then I will say that after hearing Wei Zhuo's explanation, Zhen Chongming immediately replied honestly, because the time is not long enough, we practice Buletin Tiandan, there are only more than 100. Then from now on, you have refined the Buletin Tiandan, plus the three of them and Nangong Yuking. You are all part of refining. Wei Zhuo groaned for a moment and explained. Buishandan, what the hell is this? Zhangzhuayu and other three glanced at each other and couldn't help asking. Zhen Chongming, you take 3 Buletin Tiandan out first, Wei Zhuo said directly to Zhen Chongming. Hearing Wei Zhuo say this, Zhen Chongming obediently took out 3 Buletin Tiandan and handed it to Wei Zhuo, and Wei Zhuo gave one to Zhangzhuayu and Feng Ziyu and Shi Changqing. If you try to refine it, you should know what kind of panacea this is. What a good thing, so mysterious. Zhangzhuayu heard Wei Zhuo say this, and couldn't help saying this with a smile. But all three people swallowed the panacea, but after a while, the three people's faces all changed at once, all with incredible expressions on their faces. Wei Zhuo, aren't you kidding us? This is actually a panacea that can open up the Shanghai. Even Chang Changqing, who has always been pretending to be cool, can't take care of his appearance, as if he's seen a ghost. The three of you now understand why I am so mysterious, and confess that Zhen Chongming can't mention this Buletin Tiandan outside. To the reaction of the three, Wei Zhuo did not look unexpected, smiling slightly. Smiled. Understood. Shi Changqing nodded again and again. Zhen Chongming, if you are really disobedient and say this immortality, then I will definitely cut you into 17 or 8 paragraphs and say it again, Zhangzhuayu said to Zhen Chongming immediately. Wei Zhuo, did you get the ancient pill formula? Unexpectedly, there was such a panacea. Feng Ziyu was repeatedly air-conditioned. He naturally knew that this kind of panacea would cause all the sects to fight for it at any cost. I am afraid that even the golden 4 or 5 weights that are impossible to see at ordinary times, even the Xianjing monk will personally dispatch. I did get this kind of ancient Danfang, but this elixir can only open up Shanghai to a level equivalent to the lower level of the heaven. It just happens to be Tian, and it should be useful before condensing Jindan. The effect is not as amazing as you think. Wei Zhuo looked at the three people and said, however, with your cultivation as it is, you can continue to use the Tian Tian Dan to constantly upgrade Shanhai. When the time comes, the Jindan will condense. The power is greatly increased. However, the defect is that this kind of Bulletin Tian Dan must also have some mottled drug power. It is best to prepare some elixir similar to Purple Fox before hitting the Dan Dan. This defect is not a defect for us at all, because our cultivation practices are also relying on the panacea left by the Miaodan real person and the Shenyuan Shen Shen Ding. We must have a lot of repellent drugs in our body. Without you we have to find a way to get rid of the anti-drug potency in our body. Zhangzhuo sighed and patted Wei Suo on the shoulder. It seems that the most sensible thing in my life is to know you are a brother. I also thought of what you said, and I'm sure you will not refuse to fill up Tian Tian. Wei Suo also smiled, as long as I don't patronize Ji Ya. Haha, even if I am self-righteous, I don't think I'm more important than my younger siblings. Zhang Zhuai also smiled, looking at Ji Ya, Nangong looking, and Han Wei deeply. Look what I'm doing. Han Wei looked a little hairy by Zhang Zhuai's eyes, turned his head, and muttered secretly. So, Wei Suo, are you determined to have someone and Li Ruohe join hands to explore the treasure? Feng Zhao also smiled and said right away. Even if I have an accident by myself, it is more convenient to escape. Wei Suo nodded and pondered, and to go to the Qingcheng ruins, it is to pass through many cities in the northern part of the Tianqian continent, and finally from Taisu city. Let's take this opportunity to take a look at the condition of the Sky Dome. In case of any amazing changes in the whole monastic world, we should prepare well. After saying this, Wei Suo blinked and said to Ji Ya, Jia Ya, during this time, you can also let Zhu Xiaochun spend more time to prepare some of the medicine needed to cultivate Xiangzai. Okay. Ji Ya seemed to understand Wei Suo's thoughts and nodded. You will definitely have to prepare something next. Since that is the case, let's practice first. Feng Zhao and Zhang Zhuai and Shi Fiqing glanced at each other, and they all showed up some ambiguous look. After Wei Suo said that there was nothing wrong, Zhen Chongming and Zhu Xiaochun took the three of them to the empty quiet room. Only Wei Suo and Ji Ya, Nangong Yuking, and Han Wei were left in this hall. Wei, you should go back to practice first. I have some words to talk to Wei Suo and Nangong Yuking alone. But after Feng Zhao and all the others left, Ji Ya said so to Han Wei. I can't listen to anything. Han Wei suddenly groaned, his mouth in depression, a very unhappy look. Vivi. Okay. Han Wei twisted her small waist and left the hall unwillingly after seeing Ji Ya glaring at her fiercely. Nangong Yuking, we have seen one or two faces in Lingyu City before. Ji Ya looked at Nangong Yuking after she left, and then looked at Nangong Yuking and said, but I never knew your age. This year is 33. I wonder what your age is. I'm 35. Nangong Yuking smiled. 2 years older than the big shopkeeper Ji. Both are older than me, Wei Suo lamented in his heart. But for the monks, the 30-year-old can be said to be very young, and because of the nourishment of the spirit, it may be 60-70-year-old female nuns, and their skin and face are no different from those of 10-year-old women. Of course, I didn't think the two were older, but I was a little sweet. Then Ji Ya boldly called you sister. Don't call me sister Ji Qing, Sister Yu Qing. Ji Ya looked at Nangong Yu Qing with a smile and glanced at Wei Suo, but he was serious again. You and I have listened to him about his affairs. Even if he doesn't say it, I can feel that he and you are also enamored with each other. I want to ask my sister to form an affair with him. No, do you know if your sister has any comments? Boy, it really made you right. You are so blessed. Nangong Yuking gave Wei Suo a fierce glance, conveying such a look. Sister Yuking, you don't need to worry too much. You know him first, and there is emotion between you. If you don't have emotion, I can't divide him a little bit. Nangong Yuking didn't express his position for a while. However, Ji Ya thought that she had concerns and said seriously, and I have other important reasons for asking my sister to become an ally with him. At this time, Nangong Yuking has already felt from the heart why Wei Suo said that Ji Ya will understand his affection. Obviously, Jia is wholeheartedly treating Wei Suo, and her kind of affection, Wei Suo will naturally not cherish. Naturally, she will treat her wholeheartedly. But at the moment when hearing Jiya's words, Nangang Yuking was slightly puzzled. Other important reasons. You also go to practice first. I have something to say to Sister Yuking alone. Jiya stared again at the obediently pretending child, and silently said Wei Suo. Ah! I can't listen, Wei Suo suddenly dumbfounded. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 491. Chapter 491 Miasma into the Naked Body. Seeing this ancient desolate Bai Ziyi does not let go of his own appearance, Wei Suo is really speechless. Vertex novels, handwriting novels. I saw Wei Suo first stretched out, and a Lingzi-like antiquity ominous fire hit the white light column on the head. Zi. The antiquity ominous fire collided with the white light column and immediately burned a puff of dust, but the powerful energy of the antiquity ominous fire was also noticeably offset. The great treasure just burned out 1/3 of the white light column, and the antiquity ominous fire disappeared completely. But after issuing this antiquity ominous fire, Wei Suo did not first stimulate other shapeshift great art or shapeshift great art great treasure, but immediately took a shot on the treasure receiving pocket, but took ghost raising jar out. At the same time, a few drops of fire earth dragon's blood poured in quickly. There is another, its _crew first name Commonwealth 26. A few drops of fire earth dragon's blood plunged in, green-robed old man's surging sound immediately popped out. His surging sound was originally a lazy, like saying what's the lust, but it was obvious that the green-robed old man was scared and screamed. Hong! Wei Suo was screamed and frowned by this surging sound, but the hands and feet did not have a half pause, immediately igniting heaven overflowing river scroll, a huge wave rushing away the remaining white beams to dispel the great treasure half. The great treasure is a white light column that is less than a foot, passing through the waves of heaven overflowing river scroll and hitting the golden divine light screen outside Wei Suo. A surging sound of pa, the remaining white light column looks like the powerful energy of Dao rank, and the golden divine inspired by the golden shape rank great art great treasure of Wei Suo. The light screen crashed and suddenly collapsed. The golden divine light screen just shook a bit and there was no damage. But these shattered white brilliances are scattered white miasma, and they are able to penetrate this divine light screen, which is actually infiltrated into the inside. No. Seeing such a lust scene, Wei Suo suddenly rolled over the roll one's eyes and took Ruyi exquisite pagoda out of his hands and immediately inspired it. Between the white light, Wei Suo's figure disappeared from the place and appeared in a secret place in the air outside 30 feet. Without a slight stop, as soon as it appeared in the secret place sky, Wei Suo immediately ignited Ruyi exquisite pagoda and continued to flee away from the ancient desolate Bai Ziyi. This ancient desolate Bai Ziyi is too difficult to deal with. Wei Suo's antiquity ominous fire powerful energy is slightly stronger than the shape rank high grades shapeshift great art great treasure. Heaven overflowing river scroll is half mystic rank. Shapeshift great art great treasure, but blocking the head shift great art from this monster beast, there is no shadow shift great art to completely stop, but there is still one. And the white miasma of this white light column is so weird. Wei Suo doesn't feel that he can solve this monster beast alone without any damage. But then, Wei Suo's figure flashed, and after a few dozen feet of teleport, it was stopped again, and couldn't help but roll one's eyes. It turned out that at this moment, ancient desolate Bai Ziyi was seeing that he was desperately trying to escape, but he did not move when he stood in the same place. Only a faint look appeared on his face. The opened mouth was sprayed, and 6 white brilliances were sprayed. The 6 white brilliances did not directly hit Wei Suo, but they all flowed from Wei Suo's around the body, but as soon as they spread, Wei Suo found that his surroundings were all surrounded by white miasma, only around 560. There is no white miasma in the area of Zhang. If you want to run out, you must constantly activate the antiquity ominous fire and burn a passage. But the lust shape at the moment, this head against Wei Suo, a level 8 old great treasure that regards Wei Suo as a bag, it is absolutely impossible for Wei Suo to burn out a passage. This time, Wei Suo was caught by this ancient desolate Bai Zi. Wei Suo, what's going on? You are not with Li Ruohe, they are, this is ancient desolate Bai Zi, the level 8 of the monster beast. Green-robed old man this time, in the ears of Wei Suo's, he kept calling. We are now near Yellow Path City, where heaven's dome breaks again. This ancient desolate Bai Zi's great treasure has a lust shape. I have already listened to Li Ruohe and others. Don't talk nonsense. Now, tell me if there is any weakness in this ancient desolate Bai Zi. Wei Suo took Ruyi exquisite pagoda and put the golden shape-shift great art great treasure, which inspired the golden lightning, into the hands. What, heaven's dome broke another hole, green-robed old man is also cannot help great treasure called a surging sound, only then the ventilation of the next cried, this ancient desolate Ze by an ancient are called plague, there is no weak point, and whose vitality was unusually tyrannical, the flea on his body can also gush out a kind of mucus, can help it quickly restores body naked to suffer the wound, so you even if make a hole in it, the dish flea of its body immediately will rush to the wound's secret place, soon can make the wound heal. To kill this head monster beast, only cut his head or hit his brain. In addition to the fire attribute, shapeshift great art and shapeshift great art great treasure, which are slightly gram-free, the other types of shapeshift great art have no special gram. Hong. At this time, ancient desolate Bai Zi had already surging sound and spurted a white beam of light toward Wei Suo. Since you don't give face, don't blame me for fighting with you. When I heard green-robed old man, I saw this white light column that was several times thicker than my naked body. Wei Suo shook his head and his face was not nervous. Said such a sentence. As he said this sentence, he saw a black light flashing. He had already been taken up by him. He was ready to take the road and the Black Bone Dark Lord was re-released. He first sent a black beam of light and an oncoming face. The white light beams that came in shocked together. A surging sound of pop. Black and white, the black light column of the Black Bone Dark Lord immediately collapsed without a trace, while the white light column and the great treasure were almost blanked out by a third. Boom is a surging sound, and Wei Suo has inspired heaven overflowing river scroll. In the Wei Suo's plan, according to the experience of the previous intercourse hand, under the attack of heaven overflowing river scroll, the white light beam from ancient desolate Bai Ze can only be left at most. Then he fires the antiquity ominous fire and burns it clean, without the white miasma penetrating into his divine light screen. But Wei Suo couldn't help but take a cold breath. The white light beam inspired by the ancient desolate Bai Ze, after defeating the black light column of the Black Bone Dark Lord, was split by himself. Deformation, condensed. In a flash of time, the entire white beam of light was actually scattered into hundreds of face-faced great treasure moth-like white brilliance, and it was spurred from all directions to Wei Suo. The shapeshift great art of this ancient desolate Bai Ze is so strange that it can be compared with the mystery of some top-notch shapeshift great art. Without any hesitation, Wei Suo raised his hand and a huge wave in the heaven overflowing river scroll, smashing the small white moth-like white brilliance in front of him. Immediately, his dull hands even pinched the shapeshift great art, and a lingzi-like black antiquity ominous fire, while a white, innate true fire, was also kept in his hands. I saw this white stock of the innate true fire, constantly pouring into the lingzi-like antiquity ominous fire, involving the antiquity ominous fire, which is constantly changing and expanding the great treasure. It was only a moment, under the control of Wei Suo's, the antiquity ominous fire and the innate true fire, outside the golden divine light screen outside Wei Suo, formed a black and white, white and black fire. Cover. Zizi. The rest of the white moth like white moth slammed into the black and white fire hoods, but they were burned into a pontoon of flying ash. Seeing such a lust scene, even the face of ancient desolate Bize also appeared a horrified god lust, seemingly did not think that the Dao technique shapeshift great art that he sent out would be so broken by Weisuo. But Weisuo is not easy at the moment. He uses the fire manipulation technique at this moment, and uses the inspired true fire to pull the antiquity ominous fire to form such a fire hood, but the constant amount of great treasure stimulates this kind of innate true fire, just like burning non-stop UN generally, the loss of true UN is extremely amazing. However, Weisuo did not stop the innate true fire, and directly wrapped such a black and white fire group, and slammed into the white miasma behind the great treasure piece of great treasure. Zizi. All the white miasma touched by the black and white fire group, all turned into a fluffy fly ash. Hong. Ancient desolate Bize seems to be running in the void, the great treasure step rushed up, and a white light column rushed to Weisuo. Seeing this lust scene, Weisuo is not flustered, a black beam of light from the black bone dark lord, a huge wave of heaven overflowing river scroll, and a bucket of gold like lightning that he inspires. On the white light column. In a surging sound of heaven shaking, the white light column was torn apart, and it seemed that the remaining powerful energy was not enough to break the black and white fire group outside Weisuo. But at this time, Weisuo's eyes were not consciously twitching. It was a steep change. On top of him, suddenly, a surging sound cracked, and a group of black and white fireballs outside him was more great treasure, a small black flame, squatting on his black and white fire. A surging sound of pop. I saw that not only the black and white fireballs were all broken up, but also turned into a burning flame. They connected the golden divine light screen below, and there were countless cracks, which broke open. A surging sound. The sound of the surging sound of the dragon is just now. If there is a cultivator at the moment, you can see that at the moment the top of the white miasma layer above the head of Weisuo's, there is a sun-drenched giant treasure body. At the top of Yellow Path City at the moment, the three emperors black scorpion above the gate of Huangdaozong, there is only one left at the moment. Another one rushed down and reached above Weisuo's. The black flame of this emperor's black scorpion, while smashing the golden divine light screen outside Weisuo, was also exhausted with powerful energy, disappearing without a trace, but between this breath, the surrounding white miasma, but there are a lot of filthy light screen left outside the Weisuo. Dozens of faint white miasma broke into Weisuo's naked body. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 492. Your life experience, Weisuo stunned. In his previous imagination, Nangong Yuking was just like him and was born in the ordinary casual repairing family. Because when he knew Nangong Yuking's cultivation behavior was not high, and the iron policy he joined was actually not a powerful organization. Lingyu City's casual repairs like him and Nangong Yuking are too many. But listening to what Nangong Yuking is saying now, she does not seem to be a very ordinary aborigine of Lingyu City like Weisuo. My parents used to be monks in a small city called Luyoken in the middle of the Tianqian continent. Later, because of their resentment with other monks, they were transferred to Lingyu City. Nangong Yuking glanced at Weisuo and said, "Later when my parents were hunting monsters outside the sky, they died in the hands of the monsters, leaving me alone." "Who did your parents grumble with?" Weisuo's brows were suddenly frowned. He had never heard of the name of Antler City. It must be an obscure town in the middle of Tianqian continent, but he is like this now. Xiu Wei, hearing Nangong Yuking say this, his first reaction was, of course, to help Nangong Yuking come forward and to teach the monk who had complained with her parents. "There's no need to investigate this matter. According to my parents, my mother's teacher wanted to distribute her to another monk, and then she ran off to Lingyu City with my father." Nangong Yuking's face Hongyun is a little more concentrated. My mother's teacher, I don't know what is going on now. I tell you this, and I don't want you to do it. After all, my mother's teacher did not deal with her and my father. I'm telling you this because my mother's teacher asked her to marry another monk for a big reason. Great reason. What reason? Wei Suo was more and more confused. My mother's physique is a little special. Nangang Yuking glanced at Wei Suo and said. Something special? Is it monk Lingen? It's not the spirit root. Nangang Yuking shook her head. If her physique, if she becomes a companion with others, if she practices the double cultivation technique, it will bring additional benefits to the male cultivation. Our Tianqian continent does not have this. It is said, but it is said that other continents refer to the physique of such female nuns as Miao Furnace Tripod. Nangang Yuking's words were not spoken, but was interrupted by Wei Suo, who bulged with incredible eyes. Yes, according to Yunling mainland, this kind of physique is called Miao Looting. Nangang Yuking nodded. You told me this, your physique, it shouldn't be. Wei Suo's eyes widened for a while before he swallowed, and looked at Nangang Yuking with a strange expression. I heard my mother told me that my physique is the same as her. Nangang Yuking looked at Wei Suo and nodded. Nangang Yuking is actually a wonderful body. No wonder there are so many beautiful female nuns, but Nangang Yuking always makes people feel a temperament different from the general female nuns. If you remember correctly, Wei Suo remembered that Yin Li had said to herself that Han Wei also seemed to be a miracle. And when Wei Suo learned from the population of Xuanhuan Patriarch and Li Yazan about this matter, they also knew very well that the physique of this mirage was the same as that of the spirit root, and it was very rare. But now Nangang Yuking is actually a wonderful body, which really makes Wei Suo feel a little weird. You must know that after hearing about the wonderful furnace, after one of Jia and Wei Suo's double cultivation, Jia regretted to Wei Suo, but unfortunately she was not the body of the wonderful furnace, otherwise she could do it with Wei Suo. Wei Suo has brought greater benefits. As a result, Wei Suo smiled extremely wickedly, and then caught Jia again, saying that Qin Neng can make up for it, even if everyone's qualifications are a little worse, then practice a few more times, but twice or 3 times is always worth the time of others. Okay. As a result, Jia was very shy and repaired by Wei Suo duo again, so that Jia did not dare to easily mention these 3 words. I can't think of you as a physique with a wonderful furnace. Wei Suo finally recovered and looked at Nangang Yuking and asked, as far as I know, there are many types of the wonderful furnace. What kind of physique do you have? I don't know. Nangang Yuking answered Wei Suo seriously, but her face was unconscious and red. My mother only knows the physique, but she doesn't know what it is. I get it. Wei Suo, you can put me in the Nabeo. The old man in green robe who hadn't appeared at this time suddenly called out. Understood. Hearing the first sentence of the old man in the green robe, Wei Suo thought he knew what kind of wonderful body Nangang Yuking was in, but when he heard the second sentence of the old man in the green robe, Wei Suo was a little stunned. Old man, what do you mean? What else could it mean? The figure of the old man in green robe emerged, looking at Wei Suo with an extremely contemptuous look. You idiot, what kind of wonderful furnace, you don't know if you try it? She has since having said this with you, don't you just want to see what benefits it can bring to you, and double cultivation with you? Nangang Yuking, otherwise you don't want to be his fellow. This guy is really stupid. I still don't understand the style, I really can't stand it anymore. This. Wei Suo listened to the old man in green robe, and suddenly couldn't help looking at Nangang Yuking. Even when Nangang Yuking and Wei Suo were together, how unpretentious and not tweaked. At this moment I heard the old man in green robe saying this, and then being looked at by Wei Suo, and his face was covered with red glow, and I didn't know what to say too. As soon as he saw Nangang Yuking's non-speaking appearance, Wei Suo immediately reacted in general. He grabbed the ghost-raising jar very timidly, and was about to put it in the treasure. Wait a minute, but at this moment, an old man in green robe, who had expected the result, suddenly made a pause gesture and shouted. What's wrong? Didn't you understand? Wei Suo looked at the old man in green robe. I suddenly remembered something, but don't blame me for not reminding you. The old man in green robe looked at Wei Suo with a disdainful snorting. Yang Yangzi, which you got from fighting in the hands of the real people of Tianluo, was originally it is necessary to cooperate with other Yin Yuan elixir and refine it into a panacea to have the effect of strengthening Yang Yuan and Qi and blood. Good. Aphrodisiac, Wei Zhuo slapped on the Nabeo capsule and took out a transparent crystal stone bottle. I saw a group of emerald green flowers beating continuously. It was a hippocampus-shaped rhizome. It was Wei Zhuo, the aphrodisiac that I got after fighting with Tianluo. Remember what you promised me before. After the old man in green robe rolled his eyes, the green light flashed and he directly retracted into the ghost tank. Now, of course, Wei Zhuo put the ghost-raising jar into Nabeo's pocket. But after putting the ghost-raising pot into the Nabeo capsule, only Wei Suo and Nangang Yuking were left, and Wei Suo held aphrodisiac in one hand, which was embarrassing. Wei Zhuo, you take this aphrodisiac. But at this time, Nangang Yuking looked at Wei Zhuo and said seriously. Ah, Wei Suo almost choked on his mouth. I'm here to find you now, and my mind is the same as your old man in green robe. The look on Nangang Yuking's face settled down, and looked at Wei Suo. Who are you going to Qingchen market this time? I don't know what kind of danger. The separation between the monk's life and death is a normal thing, and no one can guarantee that after one time, we will see you as scheduled, and your parents will go out as usual, but after going out, but I never came back. Although your current supernatural powers are no longer comparable to ordinary loose training, but since I promised to be your fellow, plus this double cultivation technique is also useful to you, now I naturally give your body to you and become a true companion with you. According to Wei Suo's view of himself, if a beautiful woman Chiu said this to him before, Wei Suo felt that she would definitely be extremely insignificant and immediately joined her. Suo found that he felt a solemn feeling in his heart. Staring at Nangang Yuking's beautiful eyes, Wei Suo suddenly laughed, but we haven't had a hot spring together yet. Then wait for the hot spring next time. Nangang Yuking glared at Wei Suo with an angry and funny look, and deliberately turned to leave. Wait a minute, sister. But Wei Suo suddenly took her hand and smiled. What the are you going to do? Nangang Yuking's palm was slightly warm, and she couldn't help but want to knock Wei Suo's head. Look, after seeing Wei Suo smiled, he tried his best to refining the viburnum. One by one, the indistinct light blue water spirits were continuously refined from Wei Shui bamboo by Wei Suo, and so many water spirits were not first used to sacrifice black water lotus. I saw that as more and more water spirits gasified, these water spirits first condensed into crystal clear water droplets, and then more and more water droplets gathered together, waiting for all viper bamboo. After being refined, the extracted water spirits were in the air of this quiet room, forming a huge water mass with a diameter of 2 or 3 feet. Immediately afterwards, a white real fire shot from Wei Suo's hand wrapped around the periphery of this water mass, burning the air outside the water mass. The temperature of this huge water mass has risen significantly. In just a moment, Wei Suo collected the real fire, a little black water lotus, the 4 lotus petals of the black water lotus, but it was spread out, like a bowl, supporting the crystal clear water mass on it. The place where the black water lotus is in contact with this water mass condensed by the amazing water spirits is naturally absorbing the water spirits constantly, but it takes at least half a day to see the speed of absorption in order to transfer this huge water mass all absorb light. How about, my hot spring is not bad. Nangang Yuking's low exclaimed sound. We saw that Wei Suo first released a soundproof aura light shield, and also released the Heiming Jun, put it at the door to guard at the same time. It was Yula Nangang Yuking, and the two swooped in towards the huge, warm water mass. At the same time they flew up, their coats had fallen like butterflies. Asterisk. Would you like to see more violent in the next chapter? The red ticket should also be a little stronger. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 493. Chapter 493 Grabs and Runs. Wei Suo's eyes suddenly gloomy. Vertex novels, handwriting novels. At the moment, the house's great treasure, the black tortoise, the shapeshift great art great treasure is just above him. The golden great treasure is held by the ancient desolate Bai Zi. Wei Suo looks up and looks up. The shadow of this peak great treasure, the shapeshift great art great treasure and the ancient desolate Bai Zi, fell on one's own body, without shapeshift great art seeing the shapeshift great art. But he feels that the powerful energy of the golden giant of Pangret treasure is even more powerful than his heaven overflowing river scroll. And this golden giant of Pangret treasure is obviously the formation of shapeshift great art, plus the terrifying power of this cultivator, issued the cultivator cultivation base of this Dao technique shapeshift great art, completely out of heaven catching reverend it should also be a great treasure cultivator of the golden core third layer cultivation base. This level of cultivator, for Wei Suo, is usually able to hide, do not want to easily provoke. But at this moment, the ancient desolate Bai Zi has been played by Wei Suo, and Wei Suo also consumes an annihilation golden core. If it is changed, the golden core third layer is not a big treasure cultivator. It was easy to deal with this ancient desolate Bai Zi. This cultivator is now doing shapeshift great art, which is naked fishing cheap, which is often called cultivator mouth to grab the great treasure. A cultivator played a monster beast almost the same, and saw that the monster beast could be charged. As a result, a cultivator was suddenly run, and the monster beast was directly taken away. This later grabbed the great treasure cultivator. Moral. Too shameless, such a lust situation still has to rob the giant treasure. Level 8 Monster Beast Ancient Desolate Bai Zi a spine of Ancient Desolate Bai Zi, plus Monster Core, can refine the bones and stimulate this white miasma. The powerful energy is certainly amazing. Green-robed old man is also a scream of heartache. Xuanhuan Reverend. On the other side of the sky, Li Ruohe has changed his face as soon as he sees the black tortoise shapeshift great art great treasure. From his position, you can see the controls of the black tortoise, the great treasure, the shapeshift great art great treasure, a savage, thin-skinned man wearing a dark gold robe. The spiritual chi outside this famous person is also black, and it also forms a head of basalt. And this man wearing a dark gold robes is standing next to a handsome man, who looks like a 20-year-old, wearing a white gold-plated dress with a purple hair. The jade hoop is behind the head and looks a bit more handsome than Li Ruohe. At this moment, this handsome cultivator, standing on the head of the shapeshift great art great treasure, is holding his hands. In such a harsh environment, it is a kind of leisurely and fundamental. Don't worry about the presence of the high-level monster beast. The name of the cultivator is also the slightest that spiritual chi does not reveal, but from his breath, it is definitely the cultivator of the golden core stage. Xuanhuan. Why is he here? At a glance at the cultivator, Li Ruohe's eyes are a clear glimpse. From the perspective of his change of character, the identity of the cultivator or the cultivation base is even more taboo than the Taoist of the dark gold robes. This is not good. Suddenly, the Taoist who wore the dark gold robe suddenly inspired a golden giant to lift the ancient desolate Bai Zi, and he was about to take it away. Li Ruohe's eyelids suddenly jumped and grabbed. Immediately, a white bone whistle shapeshift great art great treasure was taken out and contained in the mouth. But let his breathing stop for a moment, not waiting for him to have any movements, I saw a surging sound of boom, two black brilliance and a huge wave, the impact of the already smashing in the golden giant hand. The attack is naturally Wei Suo. If green-robed old man does not say that this ancient desolate Bai Zi has great treasure with secret place, Wei Suo may be able to endure this tone. But as soon as I heard green-robed old man, this ancient desolate Bai Zi can also refine the shapeshift great art great treasure, and lose an annihilation golden core, the other party who does not put him in the eye. Tolerance, how can he not endure it? If this person really fights with him, he can't get any good secret place with his annihilation golden core. It is better to use 2 annihilation golden core directly, let this person know what the price is to pay for it. Boom. A giant great treasure hole appeared in the golden giant hand, and immediately collapsed. Where is the junior, want to find death? Black tortoise shapeshift great art great treasure, the priest wearing a dark gold robes looks cold, the great treasure sleeves wave, a dark golden sword chi rushing out, instantly turned into a 2-300 length, the giant great treasure sword chi, which is a few feet wide, was directly attacked by Wei Suo. Wei Suo, this person is Xuanhui Reverend, Xuanhui's own sect master, golden core 3rd layer cultivation base cultivator, with a variety of heaven level shapeshift great art, divine ability and above heaven catching reverend. This person's divine ability, you may not be jealous, but the cultivator next to him, you are now tempted. The man is named Xuanhuan and is the young master of True Martial Sect. True Martial Sect's sect master is Divine Lord, his father, is the cultivator of Divine Mystic Realm. And this person is also the cultivation base of the Golden Core 3rd layer, one of the most famous genius cultivators in the heavenly profound continent central region. His strength will never be weaker than Xuanhui Reverend. At the same time, a thin sound line was introduced into Wei Suo's ear. This surging sound sounded, and Li Ruohe used the white bone whistle shapeshift great art great treasure, which was introduced separately to Wei Suo's ears. Young master of True Martial Sect. Under the white light, Wei Suo directly used Ruyi Exquisite Pagoda to avoid the dark gold sword chi that Xuanhui Reverend seems to cut the world. But when he heard Li Ruohe's sound transmission at the moment, his heart was also trembled. True Martial Sect, like Mystic Wind Sect and Northern Bright Sect, is the top 10 super great sect of heavenly profound continent. It is said that there are hundreds of thousands of disciples and more than 20 golden core cultivators. This kind of sect, in the entire cultivation world, is supergiant, and there is the existence of divine mystic realm cultivator. This sect is that the spirit beast palace does not dare to be enemies at all. Wei Suo is very clear at this moment, if he and the Xuanhuan and Xuanhui Reverend move their hands, Li Ruohe must only be regarded as not knowing himself, and the two don't want to help. Dried anchovies inside. Wei Suo made up his mind when there was a sharp flash of his eyes. A surging sound of boom, the heaven overflowing river scroll once again shot the first layer wave, which will be combined with a black Lingzi antiquity ominous fire and a black light column, directly toward the black tortoise shapeshift great art great treasure hit it. I want to work with me, with your cultivation base, it's still too tender. Xuanhui Reverend issued a surging sound, and in the twinkling of an eye, he also saw that Wei Suo is only the cultivator of the golden core 1st layer. Pu. A bronzed shapeshift great art great treasure from a spoon, suspended from his sleeve. The brilliance that emanated above instantly condensed a quaint bronze giant treasure ship. At the same time, a golden light burst out of his hands again, forming a golden giant palm. These two things, from top to bottom, all crushed the huge waves, antiquity ominous fire and black light beams from Wei Suo. But at this time, between the white light, Wei Suo has disappeared into the original place, appearing behind the head of ancient desolate Bai Zi. I don't move the surging sound. The finger of the flying sword instantly slams the flying sword, but it cuts the head of the ancient desolate Bai Zi, which has no power to fight back. At the same time, the black and black mystic fiend ghost claw grabbed the monster core of Pang great treasure and collected it into the treasure receiving pocket. Junior, find death. Xuanhui Reverend saw it, and suddenly great treasure was angry. He did not expect that the cultivator, whose name is obviously under the cultivation base, not only dared to face himself, but also under his nose, to take away the ancient desolate Bai Zi. Laugh. A dark gold sword chi, in his sternly shouted surging sound, instantly stifled to the top of Wei Suo's. At this time, Wei Suo just killed Ancient Desolate by Ze and grabbed it back to Monster Core. It seemed that it was too late to display other Shapeshift Great Art and Shapeshift Great Art Great Treasure. I saw pa. Two surging sounds, the Golden Divine Light Screen and the Virgin Divine Light Screen outside Wei Suo are all smashed by this dark gold sword chi. This dark gold sword chi like Shapeshift Great Art, powerful energy is extremely terrifying, and seems to continue to excite by True Yuan to maintain its powerful energy, at least the heaven level mid-level Shapeshift Great Art. Seeing that Wei Suo is about to be killed by this dark gold sword chi, but at this time, the table lust on Wei Suo's face is not changed. OM. Numerous amazing purple glows suddenly sprang from their eyebrows. A golden giant core with a great treasure, rises up. Li Ruohe looked pale and pale. He did not even think that Wei Suo actually dared to start with Xuanhui Reverend when he heard the lust of his secret warning. And even so violent, directly gave the golden core. Hong. Wei Suo's golden core rose up and the glow of the golden core immediately formed the shape of an ancient heavenly dragon, smashing it with the dark gold sword chi. At the same time, Wei Suo reached out and inspired a high-level treasure receiving pocket to put the body of the ancient treasure of ancient desolate by Ze into it. Ka. Golden core sunlight condense ponte great treasure ancient heavenly dragon, just a little stalemate, was immediately chopped by the dark gold sword chi. But at this time, the white light flashed again, and Wei Suo's figure, but it has disappeared from the original place, appeared in more than 50 feet. Immediately, the Wei Suo golden core was closed, hidden in the naked body, and a black and white fire group suddenly appeared outside his body. Without a slight pause, Wei Suo fled directly into a frenzied stream, and turned into a black and white streamer, directly into the rear, previously aroused by ancient desolate by Ze, a great treasure group with a disappointing sign at the moment. Among the white miasma. All this is just a matter of the moment of the electric light and flint. Seeing the cultivator of this scene, I just felt that my eyes had bowed, and Wei Suo put away the ancient desolate by Ze, and then the figure disappeared into the white miasma. Grab it and run. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 494. In the pure water mass, Jiya's extremely moving body and Wei Suo's body were entangled, with pink brilliance on her body. Slap. 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 At the beginning, the spirit of the water in the water mass was very condensed. When Jiya and Wei Suo were practicing together, there were also two koi-playing sounds in the water mass. But as the black water lotus kept absorbing the water spirit in the water mass gradually became thinner, and the condensed water flow began to become a thin mist, and only two remained in the entire quiet room. The breath of human breath. Why saw, I don't know how long it took, the yin yuan in Jiya's body was almost consumed, and the whole body was sour, and a cry of crying for mercy was issued. What? Of course, Wei Suo stopped the flow of Zhen Yuan by Liang Xiangziyu, but at the same time, she was slightly shocked, and exclaimed. After 2 consecutive extreme cultivations, the aphrodisiac's medicine in his body has been transformed into 7 or 8, and the Suancha Yinkai in his body is very turbulent. It seems to have more benefits than the hundreds of ordinary cultivations. Why saw, what's wrong? Hearing Wei Suo's exclamation, Jiya thought that Wei Suo had cultivated something wrong, and suddenly his body tightened, looking at Wei Suo very worried. Nothing, I just feel that this cultivation has produced a lot of Suancha Yinkai at this time. Wei Suo and Jiya were still tightly fitting together, without a trace. Jiya's body was tight, and a pair of chests jade rabbit was squeezed on Wei Suo again, forming a blood-spitting shape. After saying this, Wei Suo couldn't stand it anymore. He held Jia in one hand and dropped his head to kiss him so deeply that he was almost breathless. Later, at the same time, Wei Suo's other hand waved, and a stream of Xuancha Yinkai sprayed out thinly, instantly forming the shape of a blue-black ghost claw. Jia, look. Yu Guang of the eyes swept the Xuancha ghost claws, holding Wei Yasuo of Jia, but could not help but make a cry of surprise. His present Xuancha ghost claws are not only condensed all over the body, like real crystals, but on the surface, there are bulging protrusions, like thick scale armor, and there are faint lines flowing on them. At first glance, it looks very horrible. Compared with before, the appearance is obviously changed a lot. So smart. When Jia saw such a scene, the first reaction in her mind naturally felt that the effect of aphrodisiac is very amazing, which is almost equivalent to a top-level panacea, but then the thought of this aphrodisiac is no better. It was only by practicing with yourself and Nangong Yuking that you could transform so much Xuancha Yinkai. When you think of this, Jia was suddenly ashamed and could not lift her head. Bad guys, we are like this now, you can let me see your Xuancha ghost claw changes, let me put on my shirt and say again. There are old wives and old wives, what are you afraid of, and no one will come in again. As soon as he saw Jiya's appearance, Wei Suo could not bear it anymore, and he was tempted to move. No. I can't eat it anymore. Jiya begged for mercy. Okay, then call me a good husband and I will let you go. Wei Suo smiled happily. Good husband. Obe, I can't stand it. Wei Suo shook his body and couldn't help but buried his head again. After a good kiss to Jiya for a while, he never let Jiya escape his claw and put on clothes. The bang sounded loudly, but after Wei Suo put on his shirt, he tried to test the power of his Xuancha ghost claws, inspiring a magic weapon of the highest rank in his hand. However, the aura emitted by this aura magic weapon is only scratched lightly, and then it is directly torn apart, just as easily as a paper lantern. Good guy. Wei Suo glanced at the delicate and weak Jiya beside him, his face suddenly showing a look of surprise. My Xuancha ghost claw's previous power is only a little higher than the magic power of Dao Ti's lower grade. Now, my Xuancha ghost's power seems to be no less than the magic power of Dao Ti's middle grade. Now, it seems that the effect of this aphrodisiac is indeed comparable to a prefecture-level top medicine. Jiya, look at your Handan, have you changed? Well, hearing Wei Suo said, Jiya was embarrassed to speak more, nodded, lightly opened her lips, a little bluish-blue light, sacrificed, and suddenly the temperature in the entire quiet room plummeted. She is a yin yuan with great wear and tear, which is equivalent to physical weakness. I saw Jiya's cold Handan surface, there were also stripes like scales, it was really like Jindan's rune, but the texture is not so obvious, it looks obviously better than Weizhuo's Xiansha's ghost claw power is almost worse. Jiya and Wei Suo have double cultivation, plus Jiya uses Handan less, Xuancha Yin Qi wears less. It stands to reason that her power of Handan should be above Wei Suo, but now Shi Handan's power is not as good as Wei Suo's Xuancha ghost claws, obviously because of Wei Suo and Nangong Yuking's double cultivation. Nangong Yuking's body is rich in yin yuan, plus the power of aphrodisiac, Wei Suo has obtained great benefits. Wei Suo, your black water lotus is about to absorb these water spirits. You will go to the Qingcheng ruins and go deep into the Sky Dome wasteland. You must be careful. You must hurry up and then sacrifice this black water lotus. I also go back to retreat. After seeing that Wei Suo had seen his Handan clearly, the blushing Jiya glanced at the black water lily in front and said softly to Wei Suo. Jiya was born with a frosty temperament, and the people who looked at her appearance, including the monks who knew her before in Lingyu City, certainly would not have thought that she was so delicate in front of Wei Suo. At this time, the water spirits from the refining of Viburnum lucidum were indeed absorbed by the black water lotus. All the damaged parts of the whole black water refining plant have been grown, and the 4 lotus petals look moist and thick, as if to drip out of water. The original huge water mass, Now only a thin mass is left. Transparent water mist. Relax, I will be more careful and I will come back. If you see the situation is not good, don't turn around and run away without any good watching. Jia worried about her own safety and was afraid of delaying her time. As he walked, Wei Suo took Jia's hand. This time, it will definitely be inevitable for 1 or 20 days. If you don't see you for so long, or I will delay you for a little while, wait for my sacrifice after this black lotus, I will go to retreat. Delay a little time. Wei Suo said so. How could Jia not feel his affection? And for Wei Zhuo, she had all entrusted herself to him, how could she not be willing to delay this time? Looking deeply at Wei Suo, Jia didn't say anything, just nodded. Puff. We saw that Wei Suo looked at Jia and smiled, but she still held her with one hand, and reached out a little with the other hand, but Zhenyuan rolled up a fuchsia-like thing. As Zhenyuan's package went up, there was a pure water spirit in this purple-red reef-like thing. A stream of pure water spirit vitality, constantly into the black water lotus. About half an hour later, all the remaining spirits of the water spirit were also refined by Wei Suo and absorbed by the black water lotus. The size of the black water lotus has not changed, but the aquatic breath on the surface is much stronger than before, and it is actually a transparent circle-shaped ripple. Wei Suo, the power of this black water lotus now seems to be far more than the middle class of Dao. Jia, who still interlocked with Wei Suo, looked at the black water lily, but couldn't help turning her head to look at Wei Suo, saying this. In the past, Wei Zhuo's black water lotus was the magic weapon of the Dao rank inferior grade, but at this moment, from the perspective of the spirit of the water spirit, it seems that it has exceeded the magic weapon of the Dao rank inferior rank. Puff. Wei Suo's eyes flickered, but he didn't speak first, but the flash of green and black glory directly transformed into Xuanhuan's ghost claws. He pressed a button on the black water lotus. I saw that the whole black water lotus shook violently, and the surface seemed to oscillate with a layer of transparent water lines, but there was no damage on the black water lotus. The old man said it well. The water spirit of Vipera sylvestris is indeed not lost to the black water lotus itself. Now the power of this black water lotus has indeed surpassed the middle grade of Daija, but compared to the top grade of Daija it's even worse. Wei Suo immediately looked at Jia and nodded. Whether it is Xuanhuan ghost claws, or this black water lotus, the power is already slightly insufficient for you. The main reason is to plan for the future. When you go out this time, you still have to be careful. What are you going to do next? Next I am going to do my best to practice Tianlong Kungxing quenching body technique. In this trip to the Bliss Palace, if the real person of Tianluo was not physically strong, he was already killed by me. Although in a short time, it is definitely impossible to cultivate the physical body to him. Same as tyrannical, but the physical vitality is more tyrannical. Even if something happens, I will be hit hard. If you use true demon sealing, the chance of life will be much greater. After trying the power of the black water lotus, Jia and Wei Suo spoke for a while. Jia made up her mind and separated from Wei Suo, and left the quiet room. This is unexpected. After Jia left, we saw Wei Suo, but he didn't know what he thought of. With a smile on his face, he shook his head and murmured. After that, Wei Suo Ki's body was suspended, his hands went forward, and a dragon shape was placed, and he began to practice the dragon body hardening technique with all his strength. The entire quiet room was quickly flooded with purple brilliances, and from time to time there was a dragon-like sound. Asterisk. Continue to seek red tickets at the same time. There is a book review activity in the book review area, everyone can enthusiastically go to play. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 495. Chapter 495 Great Treasure, Sword Chi. Wei Suo, the farther away from Yellow Path City, the better, otherwise if you move your hands, the young master of true martial sect will come, and you will not be able to escape even if you deal with this person. Vertex novels hit the novel. And, your annihilation golden core, be careful to use it. In this wilderness, maybe he can avoid it. Feeling impossible to get rid of the pursuit of Xuanhui, Reverend, green-robed old man repeatedly said in Wei Suo's ear. Ice Dragon True Secrets. Wei Suo's eyes flashed again and again, his hands were linked, and a white ice dragon kept condensing out, and it was violently smashed directly behind him, turning into a group of chills. At the same time, his hands also appeared in the hands of Great Treasure to the Great Treasure of the Ice System Talisman, constantly excited to the back. In the sky behind him, all the layers of thick ice were formed. Xuanhui Dark Gold Sword Chi. Dare to snatch something with me, you are looking for death. A dark golden sword Chi with a length of hundreds of feet, bursting out in front of Xuanhui Reverend, smashing all the ice in front, and Wei Suo's means can't stop him. Wei Suo's brows slightly wrinkled, still playing Ice Dragon True Secrets and exciting the Ice System Talisman at an amazing speed, but also released the Shapeshift Great Art. Puff puff puff. The Shapeshift Great Art, the king of the butterfly, suddenly spewed out a strip of mucus and immediately condensed to form a layer of colorful rope nets. Do you think that with such a means, can you escape? In Xuanhui Reverend's sneer surging sound, it stopped stimulating the dark gold sword Chi, but reached out and grabbed the golden light Great Treasure hand, and slammed forward. He turned out the golden shift Great Art, the powerful energy is still on the dark gold sword Chi, all the hard ice in front, including the rope formed by the mucus sprayed by Shapeshift Great Art, all shot the smash. Joke, do you think I am going to escape? I am taboo to be too close to Yellow Path City, and you are just around the corner of True Martial Sect, young master. True Martial Sect, I can't afford it. As for your Xuanhui Zong, I don't care much about it. I just want to find a quiet place, and teach you about it, so that you know that you should not bully and grab someone else's things. Wei Suo is a sneer of deliberately stimulating Xuanhui Reverend, Great Treasure surging sound. Hurricane. Just rely on your cultivation base, and dare to say this to me, well, I will not do it to you first, you do not have to do such a meaningless move. Xuanhui Reverend really provoked 7 cigarettes. I will let you take out 3,000 miles, and then it is far enough away from Yellow Path City. In 3,000 miles, that is almost the same. Although Xuanhui Reverend is so Great Treasure, Wei Suo is a sect master for this golden core third layer's Great Treasure cultivator. Wei Suo naturally does not dare to have any small eyes. Then, the Ice Dragon True Secrets and Ice Shapeshift Great Art symbols were stopped, and the Shapeshift Great Art was stopped. And Xuanhui Reverend didn't apply Shapeshift Great Art anymore, but only controlled the black tortoise-like Shapeshift Great Art, keeping a certain distance from Wei Suo. Xuanhui Old Ghost, just here, secret place. It didn't fly out of 3,000 miles. When it was less than 2,000 miles away, Wei Suo's Chi Fire boat went down to the lower secret valley and fell into the barren mountain valley. The feng shui in this place is not bad, just to give you a place to bury your bones. Xuanhui Reverend, a surging sound sneer, black escape light, also fell like a meteorite. Bone in the bones. You think too much, when you don't even have the ash left, you don't have to bury it. Wei Suo smiled and stopped in the middle of the valley. The junior, in the cultivation world, relies on divine ability, not the mouth. Xuanhui Reverend's black tortoise Shapeshift Great Art Great Treasure straightened down, only a distance of more than 500 feet from Wei Suo. Do you know my identity? I am the disciple of Northern Bright Sect Master. Are you dare to kill me in such a place? At this time, Wei Suo suddenly said such a sentence. Northern Bright Sect Master. Xuanhui Reverend's naked body suddenly stunned and was scared by Wei Suo's lie. How? Fear. Taking advantage of his stagnation opportunity, Wei Suo spurred both the heaven overflowing river scroll and the golden Shapeshift Great Art Great Treasure that could be used to make the golden thunder light. At the same time, his golden core also rose directly, the purple glow, condense a purple heavenly dragon, black bone dark lord, was also released, all rushed towards Xuanhui Reverend. What do you do with shapeshift great art and shapeshift great art, not the northern bright sex shapeshift great art and shapeshift great art, but also want to scare me? But Xuanhui Reverend's gaze is just a flash of light, it seems that he has already set his mind, only to see the shapeshift great art great treasure that he used to use the bronze spoon, which appears quickly in front of him. The splendid light emitted instantly formed a quaint bronze giant ship. Hong. Gold great treasure hand again, and this bronze giant boat down, although immediately by Wei Suo bloom in front of the torrent-like brilliance smashed, but broke through the golden great treasure hand and bronze giant ship, the remaining splendid light, Chong hit the Xuanhui Reverend body under the black tortoise fly dun shapeshift great art great treasure, but when a surging sound, house like great treasure small black K tortoise fei dun shapeshift great art great treasure only shook a shock. But there is no damage to the slightest. This piece of giant treasure's shapeshift great art great treasure, turned out to be a giant great treasure shield, and the powerful energy of defense. It seems that at least Dao rank high grades defense shapeshift great art great treasure powerful energy. Before you die, let you see my means. Blocking Wei Suo's, in the eyes of Xuanhui Reverend, there is a thick killing intent. At the same time, his hands waved and swayed at least hundreds of golden brilliance. The brilliance of this strip is all about a crystal ball like spheron ball, but the surface of each golden yellow ball is engraved with the dense talisman, swaying the thick thunder glow. The hundreds of crystal balls were sprinkled down, but they were directly embedded in the ground on the valley, and they formed a great treasure array. Among the crystal balls, there are constantly rising white thunder lights, and it seems that countless moons have risen. Pa! 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 No matter which direction Wei Suo is dodging, there are at least 20 moon-like thunder ball bombardments within a few square feet. The more than 20 bright moon-like thunder ball bombardment powerful energy is almost the same as the powerful energy of heaven overflowing river scroll. Every wave of heaven overflowing river scroll is almost just impacting the powerful energy of these thunder balls. Xuanhui Reverend instantly made this thunderbolt, which immediately contained a half-mystic rank attack on shapeshift great art great treasure in Wei Suo's hands. It is impossible to break through this battle directly, because the more down, the denser the thunder ball, and the obstruction of Xuanhui Reverend. Ignorance Junior. You know at the moment that you have angered me, what is the consequence? At this moment, Xuanhui Reverend is already in front of Wei Suo's, the shadow of the house like great treasure black tortoise shapeshift great art great treasure, pressed on Wei Suo's. A dark golden pang great treasure sword chi, a bronze giant ship, kept hitting Wei Suo. Xuanhui Reverend's golden great treasure hand, seems to excite slower, so at the moment it just stimulates this powerful energy slightly weaker, but the exciting speed of the dark gold sword chi is very fast, but even so, this kind of dark gold sword chi powerful energy, but also more than the Dao rank high grade shapeshift great art great treasure, coupled with the exciting speed is very alarming. Wei Suo's offensive is also constantly disintegrated, a share of powerful energy, still is constantly pounding in his body outside the divine light screen. Go to death. Slightly stalemate the time of 5 or 6 breaths, watching his offensive is not enough to smash any divine light screen outside Wei Suo, murderous intention flashing between the eyes of Xuanhui Reverend, the face also showed some laziness and Wei Suo entangled look. Above the top of his head, suddenly dark, rising a substantial black gold core sunlight, a mysterious black golden core, and then rose. This golden core of Xuanhui Reverend is almost as great as the golden core of heaven catching Reverend, and it is a great treasure than Wei Suo's golden core. The brilliance of the black surface is a talisman-like look. Hong. Without stopping at all, Xuanhui Reverend sacrificed this golden core, and the Zhiaguang above it formed a basalt shape. Its naked body type and the flapshift great art great treasure underneath him were also almost great treasure. The cockroach crashed down. At the same time, Xuanhui Reverend once again produced a golden light great treasure hand, issued the strongest attack. No, if you go on like this, you can't get close to him. You can sacrifice the annihilation golden core. No shapeshift great art poses a threat to him. Ka. 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 Xuanhui Reverend's golden core sunlight condensed black tortoise, pressed together with the bronze giant chip, pressed the original chi in the sky, forming a substantial airflow, blasting downwards, terrifying extreme, but also at this time, Wei Suo slammed his teeth and made a decision in his heart. Hong. His naked body, fiercely high, all the offensive, blasted up, his golden core also blasted directly upwards. Pa. In a violent bombing, Xuanhui Reverend's golden core sunlight and bronze giant chip, golden great treasure hand, all collapsed. Wei Suo's figure, hard rises nearly 100 feet, at this moment makes him and Xuanhui Reverend distance, only left it took more than 200 feet. This hard fight, Wei Suo's golden core was also shocked to fly back a few feet, a sharp tremor. The golden divine light screen outside Wei Suo is also broken. Wei Suo's mouth and bloodshots, but a golden splendid light, rose from his hands. Annihilation golden core. At this time, Wei Suo was wounded and approached by Xuanhui Reverend. It was the annihilation golden core made from the golden core of Admiralty. You got fooled. When you dealt with the ancient desolate Bai Zi before, I have already observed your shapeshift great art. The speed of your shapeshift great art is not comparable to that of my Xuanhui dark gold sword chi. On the annihilation golden core, there was a devastating scent, but at this time, Xuanhui Reverend's face showed a smug god. At the same time, it seems that I have already anticipated this point, and I have already gained momentum. It is very cohesive, like a slender spiked dark gold sword chi, a surging sound of a smashing sound, directly penetrated Wei Suo. The cocky divine light screen outside is on Wei Suo's